Imagine going to jail, serving your jail term in a correctional facility, and coming out to live in another prison, but this time not behind bars, but in your own head because of people's condemnation of who they still think you are. This is the story of such people who have finished their jail term and come out and still suffer condemnation from the society. Kawangware, Nairobi. This is a border point into Kangemi, another informal settlement area in Westlands constituency. Leah Masicha goes about her day normally. It's a life she partly enjoys, but also partly dislikes, and here's why. 5 years ago, she was held in remand without trial for 7 months. Her then employer accused her of organizing theft in the employer's homestead in Bungoma County, where Leah worked as a house manager.
Nilikuwa nimefua hiyo Saturday asubuhi. Hiyo jioni nimeacha nguo zikiwa kwa kamba. Akaniambia hebu enda hivyo utoe hizo nguo. Sasa hiyo side natumwa kutoa manguo ndio side ilikuwa imetolewa hizo tiles juu. Ile hali ya kuendelea kutoa na kulikuwa na jamaa anaingia na ngazi. Kumuuliza ni nini mbaya? Hatakuwa ni wewe hujajua wewe ni suspect hapa kumeibiwa na ni wewe ndiye mwenye wanasema ulikuwa hapa wa mwisho. Sasa nikisikia tu mimi ni suspect si kuishiwa na nguvu. Nikawekwa kwa hiyo gari. Hiyo kuandikisha statement ndio kuchukuliwa simu na kuingizwa kwa karumu hapo. Hapo ndio ilikuwa mwisho wangu wa kurudi kuona watoto.
And that was her fate then. She was incarcerated and all this time no one knew where she was, not even her 5 children. The 35-year-old, who's a single parent, left her children in the care of her sister. One day while in remand, she sought to communicate with her relatives. To date, she wishes she never made that move.
Kuna siku moja tu niliomba simu kuongea nao, but ile reply venye waliniambia, venye uliiba na nani, haukuambia mtu yoyote, venye uliiba ukapeleka. So, lipia makosa yako mwenyewe. Nilikaa huko kwa hiyo miezi yote 7 bila kuona mtu mwenye alinivisit.
Her heart was broken. She thought it was just a dream, but she hadn't seen anything just yet. There were lots of development, negative development.
Kule kwenye naita kwetu, sio kwetu real, ni mama alitulelea huko. So huko already wamesema hawezi karibisha criminal. So ile kutoka kwa cell, nilikosa kabisa mahali pa kuingia.
Having to run away from Bungoma and settle in Nairobi to avoid society's stigma, she thought she had all that buried behind her. 47 kilometers north of Nairobi is Gatwanyaga, Thika, Kiambu County. We meet Cecilia Njeri, another victim of societal alienation post-incarceration. She served her jail term for child neglection.
Mimi mama watoto 4. Sasa nilikuwa na watoto 3 na nikatoka kwa baba yao. Nikashindwa kupatia 3 chakula. Hata huyu mmoja sasa hata una nguo zake, una nini. Nyumba kukomboa nimeshindwa, nimefukuzwa, nikapewa ingine. Nyumba yenye nilipewa ilikuwa ya mabati, una vitu za kulalia, una nini. Sasa ukiwa mama ukiona ile unapitia na watoto wako, hamna chakula, umeamka asubuhi watoto hawajakula na hawajakunywa kitu, umejifukua saa hizo saa hiyo nilikuwa na kama mwezi mmoja, Mdhonia alikuwa na mwezi mmoja. Mimi sasa vile nilifikiria nilikuwa nimefika mwisho ile ati hata kama unaambiwa uwaue ningewaua. Rafiki yangu mmoja akakuja na anasemanga alinisaidia ingawaje alifariki. Kaniambia watoto wake wanakuanga children's home iko Kiambu. Na vile shinda imekukumba walikuwa wananiita Njeri. Na vile shinda imekukumba sasa tutatafuta fare tuwapeleke Kiambu.
Her firstborn would later lead the children's home officials to Cecilia's home.
Hata saa hizi ndio nafikirianga kwani nini ilikuwa imenishika, lakini naonanga tu Mungu akitaka kufanyia kitu lazima akupitishie. Tukawekwa sasa kwa Land Rover. Kasimamia Kiambu Police Station. Mimi nilikaa huko for 1 month. Na nilikuwa na uchungu mingi kama mama.
An assessment was done and her conditions proved her financial and social situation then could not allow her to take care of the children.
Yangu hata hii si kupelekwa kwa mbao watu wote, ilikuwa chamber court. Na watoto wangu wakaletwa hiyo wakati wakaletwa hiyo wakati wa judgment yangu. Nikaambiwa nimefungwa mwaka. Umefungwa mwaka na watoto wameenda, hata ujui wanakaanga wapi, lakini nilikuwa na hata saa hizi ndio najiulizanga. Kitambo hata sikuwa nachukulia hiyo kitu kama kawaida, nimeenda jela nimetoka. Saa hizi ndio naonanga kweli kwani nilikuwa nimefanya nini. Sasa watoto wakaenda na mimi nikaambiwa sasa nimefungwa mwaka. Hapo ndipo niliamua kupigia dadangu watatu, mimi ndiye first born kwetu. Mwambia mimi nilishikwa na napelekwa Lang'ata na sina kitu, naona uko na mtoto mdogo, sabuni, una nini. Sasa unaona mtu sasa nakuuliza sasa ulishikwa ukifanya nini hiyo? Unaona sasa watu wanakulaumu, wanaona wewe ni mbaya.
The relatives were not there for her at her very time of need. Instead, they blamed Jerry, just like they blamed Leah. Same script, different cast.
Sasa ndio sisi hao tukawekwa kwa gari mpaka Lang'ata. Na mimi nimeenda na Mudhoni, alikuwa na kama mwezi moja na nusu. Hata saa zingine naonanga hata Mudhoni sikumpeleka shindano zake zote juu. Vile nilifika kule, unajua sasa kwanza unakuwa na stress. Mimi nilikuwa na nini ngumu sana, wakati mgumu sana juu. Nilikuwa najiuliza mwaka itaisha. Unaona mimi sikuwa nakuja kuonekana na mtu. Sasa wewe unaogojea wenye wanaleta misaada, ama unaomba mama mtoto fulani kitu, juu hakuna mwenye atakuja kukuona.
Now, prison as we know it is no place for an infant. It was tough for Cecilia and her newborn. First, you're not allowed to stay in one cell with your child. The babies stay in a nursery. Wake-up time is at 3 a.m. There is no special diet for children and infants apart from the normal prisoner's meal, which is made separately for them. It's an experience Teresa Njoroge knows too well. Teresa went to Lang'ata Women's Prison for an alleged involvement in fraud. The former banker, with a career that spanned a decade, recalls how things happened so fast.
I happened to handle a fraudulent transaction unknowingly. And what happened was I ended up being arrested because of that fraudulent transaction. Initially, I had thought I would be one of the people who would assist with investigations, to get to the bottom of what had really transpired so that we could get to understand who had dropped the ball. But I ended up being handpicked to carry the cross on behalf of the bank for that particular transaction. I was prosecuted. I was given 4 counts, 3 of theft, stealing from the bank, and 1 was for defrauding the bank. And unfortunately, even though I had not committed that crime, even though I had not stolen that money, I ended up being imprisoned to serve a 1-year sentence at Lang'ata Women Maximum Prison. And I was accompanied by my then 3-month-old daughter. She was only 3 months old. We went to Lang'ata with her, and it was a very difficult time bringing up my daughter behind bars as a first-time mom, first time to ever be convicted of any crime, and more so knowing that I was innocent and I didn't deserve to be there.
Mary Haemba, the current prisons director in charge of correction, rehabilitation and prisoners' welfare, admits that with the existing prison structures for rehabilitation, it is hard to adequately meet the needs of all ex-prisoners. In that regard, she has to always collaborate with other partners, among them faith-based organizations and NGOs.
When a person is convicted and brought into the institution, we start preparing them for reintegration on admission. And when I say that, I mean that every time we are taking them through programs that prepare them to go back into the community. So we have several programs that we have put together to make sure that they get equipped with the skills. Some we enable them change their behavior, and some go to school. But on everyday basis, they are engaged by the institutional welfare officers and the partners from outside.
After serving her term, Teresa believed that the experiences she had at Langata Women's Prison shaped her to make a change. Together with a group of other young women, they created Clean Start, an organization that helps other ex-incarcerate women to assimilate after serving their jail term.
As the women came out of prison, the cry that I had heard when I was serving my sentence, and these women would cry from the bottom of their belly and would wonder, when I come out of this prison, what is it I'm going to do? Where am I going to go? I have no home to go back to, no food, and even as I sit here, I do not know where my children are. Women would leave, and 2-3 months later, for sure, they would be back. And I would wonder, why is it that you would come back here after you found your freedom? And so I thought to myself, the first thing I will do is to create awareness of the issues of imprisonment and how challenging reintegrating back into society is. And that's how I started, by creating that awareness within faith-based organizations, going to churches. That was the easiest point to go to. And then I would organize meetings with the women at Uhuru Park, and we would meet there and deliberate on way forward.
Many ex-convicts struggle to get their feet on gainful economic activities after serving jail term. Sometimes even getting basic documents like certificates of good conduct or even access to credit to start a business is a tall order. Teresa observed that some of the women were being imprisoned for petty crimes that involved daily survival. Through its in-house programs, Clean Start has assisted many women former prisoners to adapt and come up with small sustainable businesses that help them shield the risk of going back to prison. Leah is fortunate to have been a beneficiary. She now runs a grocery store in her locality.
Kujuana na Clean Start nilisikia kutoka kwa marafiki wale wenye washaikuwa huko. So ile hali ya kuongea yale masaibu yenye napitia Nairobi, ile sina mtu wa kunishika mkono, na yule mwenye nilikuwa naelezea pia alikuwa na masaibu kama hayo, akataka kujua kwa nini familia inakutenga. Ndio nikamwelezea yale ya Bungoma. Kumwelezea ndiye akaniambia kuna shirika hapa inasimama na wamama kama nyinyi. Ndiye akanifikisha kwa kiasi hiki sasa.
Clean Start nakumbuka siku ya kwanza tu waliniita hapa Thika. Na Clean Start kweli ni Clean Start. Ni kusafisha kabisa na kuanzia mambo mazuri. Juu sasa kutoka tushikane na wao, sasa nimekuwa mama mwenye anajisimamia na familia yake. Juu hata ukisema hii una hii wanakushika tu na wananga ile moyo roho ile ya kukufa ati huyu jana tulimsaidia leo tena wakuangi bora tu ni uambie. Na ndio nilikuwa naambia Teresa, hii kazi wanafanya, hii ni Mungu anafanyia.
Teresa's Clean Start is just an example of non-governmental organizations assisting where the government does not have a post-prison recovery experience that's needed. But this is just a drop in the ocean, as there's still more to be done in policy, budgetary support, community and society sensitization, and empowering more peer-to-peer psychosocial support. George Omolo, who is a psychologist at Chiromo Hospital Group, asserts the significance of psychological support for such people.
They have a number of expectations that when they are getting out of the prisons, how are they going to meet, how are they going to meet the life outside the prison? What are they going to do? Are people going to welcome them back? Maybe they've been given names. Some will come and say that, hey, I'm going through stigma and I'm feeling like this is not a safe place for me, and majority will still feel like they'll wish to go back to prison.
Retired Prisons Director Francis Makathimo is of the opinion that it all starts with a shift of how the society views the ex-incarcerates.
First of all, when we understand these are human beings and they are just like you, and you are not even better than them, because maybe what we have done is more than what they have done. For example, when you come to corruption, there are so many people running around here and they are corrupt, and they are supposed to be in that prison, but they have never gone to prison. They have never been imprisoned because maybe they can well hands for those people who matters. Are we together? So anybody can land in prison, like our Mau Mau heroes. When they were in the forest, the Wazungus were calling them terrorists. But with us, when we are here, as our brothers and fathers, we are calling them good brothers who are struggling to bring us to freedom.
They say time heals wounds, but sometimes the scars that remain can be so glaring that moving on could be a big challenge. The effects live on, and they don't affect just the ex-prisoner, but their immediate families and children. Be it as it may, life has to go on.
Kulingana na saa hizi vile nang'ang'ananga na najaribu kuwaonesha upendo, kama hiyo msimu yote ya corona tulikuwa nao hapa wote wanne, mnapika pamoja, mnafurahi pamoja. Sasa unawaonesha ni watu wa maana, msome. Mimi nilikataa kusoma, msome hata nyinyi vile tunasaidiangwa, hata nyinyi mwe mnasaidia watu wengine hivyo. Sasa naona hata tuongeangi hiyo ya jela, lakini mudhoni ndiye kanatakanga kufikia, unajua ni yeye alikuwa huko. Sasa akisikia anashindwa alikuwa ameendea nini jela.
Even though it was only a year, unfortunately to date, I still have to take my daughter for therapy, talk to her about it, because she wonders, why did we have to go to prison? So her brother asks her, why is it you are in prison with mom? You know, because he's still also trying to comprehend. So you find that it was a 1-year sentence, but that sentence follows you the rest of your life.
The place of family is still key in the reforms.
We should be the change we would love to see. I desired to see a criminal justice system that is just. I desired to see women who have opportunities, economic opportunities, education opportunities. And I thought to myself, as a society, we cannot be treating the most vulnerable amongst us this way, such that prisons are full of the poor, not criminals.
When they come home, kindly let the community accept these prisoners. Because the law is there. If they break law, let them go back to prison. But if someone doesn't break law, don't look at him with bad eyes saying that this man is a criminal. The criminal ended when he was imprisoned.
Let's make these people to know who they are. Not tagging them, not kinda stigmatizing them, but making them to believe that, you know, the society still welcomes you back.
For most people who come out of jail after serving their jail term, they find a lot of development has gone on. Laws perhaps have changed, technology has improved, and people have moved on with their lives. But one thing remains constant: the condemnation that they go through from the society still stings, and they live in guilt. How do we as a society solve this one thing to reaccommodate those of us who have served their jail term back into the society? For the special report, Life After Prison, for KTN News, I'm Brian George Otieno.